sharing. Oh, you sharing? Okay. I can share to a group. Okay, share it to a bunch of groups.
I love these.
Oh, little orbs.
Pairing.
Testing.
Bluetooth connected.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you see me? Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Bogalusa podcast. We will get started in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Let's give people a chance to come in and see the live, view live. We look forward to talking to you tonight. We have a topic on home ownership, financial literacy. So please share the live. Get prepared to learn, and we're going to leave you with some solutions.
Deep knowledge
And solutions. We gotta get a theme song or something.
Yeah, like a Superwoman song. We gotta think of something.
Theme song gonna be rolling in the background. I'm every woman.
Yeah.
Anything you want done.
Is it echoing?
Hmm?
I don't hear it echoing.
Do you hear an echo now? Reverb. Let me know when it's, how many people are on the...
Just 4 so far.
Oh my goodness.
Yes,
Butterflies,
it's real.
butterflies.
It's real. It's real. It is real. Episode number 2.
Number 2, the big 2. I have to come back every 2. So 20, 22,
20, 12. What hit you on the evening?
I'm the
So
12.
we get to
Well, you know, 12 is the Bible number,
Yeah.
right? That's a good number to go with. So.
Then 20, then 22. Let's see. I don't know how they...
But you were talking about playing that lotto tonight. You
Yes.
better put that 12 in there. There you go. Some with them twos.
If we have enough solutions, I'm sure people are going to want you to come back on. I think tonight's topic will give people an opportunity to understand what they can do with their money, what they can do with their credit and their
absolutely.
money, and what Bogalusa can become with the market that it has and the way our parishes, our other sister parishes are busting at the seams.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity for growth here. So
Oh, absolutely.
what time are we?
Even if our economy is
6:59.
terrible, real estate is always positive.
Mm-hmm.
You have to live somewhere. It's just a good investment to make, and it's good to know how to make the choices on what to do.
Yeah.
I am well,
I'm
let's
gonna
not
hold
get
you up. Yeah, you're about to get
let's
some
not
good
get
gems.
into it. Let's not get into
You're
it.
about to get some gems. You getting ready. You
Don't
warmed
get me
up.
started.
You
Let me just sit
warmed up.
back and listen.
Okay.
Screen selection.
It is this one. You can see it. It's pretty static for us, but don't worry about it. All right, are we ready? Ready?
7.
Okay. Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk Bogalusa podcast. So I am Roniqua Watkins. I am a highly opinionated person who wants us to get from behind the keyboard, off social media, and talk about the issues that faces Bogalusa in person. Tonight I have a special guest, Miss Julie Branum. Branum. See, I messed it up.
No, you didn't. No, you
Branum. Julie will introduce herself, but she is a realtor broker. and she'll give you more details. But tonight's conversation will focus on how we can move people into home ownership, how we can talk better about credit, how we can talk about financial literacy and educating our children in different ways about it, and how we can change Bogalusa with solutions and not just focus on the problems. So Julie, introduce yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate you. My name is Julie Branum. I am broker owner of Southern Charm Realty. I have been passionate about real estate since I was about 16 years old. Around 2009, I finally got licensed and had an opportunity to start working with HUD. So we started managing some properties for HUD. My husband and I purchased a home, and life happened, and I found out the hard way on if you don't know how to do something, you will lose everything. And it doesn't matter if you hire a professional to help you, if they're not 100% experienced and you know what they need to do to help you, then you're not going to be able to get out of the situation. Unfortunately, my husband got sick and we did lose everything. And I told him, I said, after about 4 years of starting over, I said, I'm ready to go and help people. I said, there's other people out here who've experienced what we've experienced, not once, but twice in our life. And I just want to reach out to many people and let them know what I've learned and how to help themselves. And I took about 6 months before I settled on Bogalusa.
Okay.
And we sold everything we had and we bought a little house up here in Bogalusa, and I've been up here for 4 years now trying to help renters become homeowners.
Okay, well, passion has a way of leading to purpose. So
Absolutely.
let's get into it. So tonight, I'm going to start with some statistics. So as we're talking about housing, if you go to census.gov, it shows that within Washington Parish, there are about 21,499 housing units. And those units can range from single-family homes to mobile homes to various living conditions, but 21,499 of them. Of those, 69.4 are owner-occupied. Which shocked me because this area seems to me to be a high rental area, but the percentage is high for the census on owner-occupied housing. I think some of that also has to do with air property, and we'll get into some of those things as we go down. But the median value of owner-occupied units is $139,400. So see some lower than that, see some higher than that.
Right.
And it says the median selected monthly owner cost with a mortgage is around $1,310.
It is now.
Yeah.
That's what it has been for the last couple of years.
Yeah, so that's probably mortgage rate to the bank, insurance cost.
I think that's probably before taxes. I think it's for insurance.
Wow.
I really do, because just what I've been seeing in the market that I've been seeing when my clients come in, because I work with the lower range of home sales, and in Bogalusa, it's not $139,000.
Okay.
It's typically $125,000 and under.
Gotcha.
Now some of the houses that I've seen are great, but $1,400 almost for a house, that it's a lot, and that cuts out just the regular people now.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about it. People buy a house because it's cheaper than renting.
Allegedly,
supposedly. That's not cheaper than renting.
Yeah. Allegedly, supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly, supposedly. That is equivalent to renting. You know,
Yeah.
a 3-bedroom home here in Bogalusa, you look at maybe $900.
Okay.
$900 to $1,200 depending on the condition of the property. But the majority, I think, why you're seeing the 69.4%, and I could be totally wrong, but I think it's because a lot of these houses are rent to own, owner finance, and they're put on the deeds as owners.
Oh.
So I think that could possibly be it, because a lot of people that I know are not homeowners around here. They're renting to own. You know, they don't have a mortgage. They're paying a private owner. So I think these I think that's probably what's going on
So,
with these numbers.
with that, when this is my second time living in Bogalusa, purchasing a property, and living in it. The first time I came back in the early 2000s, I rode around, saw properties, and people recommended that I go to finance company. And I'm thinking, I've owned properties in other states. I've never thought about a finance company. I used to go to my bank, use my credit, which was decent. And then when I got to these finance companies, they were nice. They spoke about a house note. And I asked the lady, I said, a house note, is that the same thing as a mortgage? And she was like, yeah, around here they call it a house note. And then she explained to me the terms and conditions. And I'm thinking to myself, are people really doing this? You know, where here are people talking about it? And then here you are, fast forward about 20 years later, and I don't feel like the market's changed a lot, or the way the market is run is changed a lot. I think to what you're saying, there are a lot of owner financed properties. I don't know if that's culturally ingrained in the area. There are some real estate agents who've been around here for years. I don't want to name any of them because they're not here to, defend themselves or anything. But there are some people I know that real estate agents that, and we're going to go to a site and we'll see some, they're in the market. So they are putting product out there. They're also encouraging home loans. But I do think a good portion of properties within Bogalusa are owned by people, and the livable properties, they're renting, they're making the money by renting them to own.
Correct.
Now, I don't know how we would go into finding out if they're actually getting to ownership, because if you go right here off Sullivan Drive, where the school used to be, I remember when they tore down the old school and they built those houses. And nobody that I can remember, and someone can let me know if I'm wrong, but those houses flipped several times over. You go by Bird Avenue. When I came back here 20 years ago, they were like, oh, you can buy a house over there. And I'm thinking, where are the original people who owned it? Because they weren't the ones selling it. I knew who lived over there when they first built those homes. But at the time that I was looking, somebody else owned it, and they were trying to sell it. So the market, to my knowledge, to the experience I've had in it, those are two locations that I know for a fact within Richardson Town, where they were built. They may have been built with funding of some kind, and they've flipped multiple times over. So one of the things that I certainly want to do, as I see now, as I've aged in here, I see people's air properties, and they're gone. They don't want to come back.
Yeah.
We don't know who could assume those properties, but I'd like to see some of our younger people get into them, and I know you're going to get into that as we go along. But talk about your experience. That's mine in the market, because I could give my homeowner story now, which I was blessed in it. But you talk about your experience in this local housing market.
My experience is, and it's very, very simple. People just don't know how to go about building their credit in order to be able to buy a house. That's it. That's as simple as it is. They will listen to everybody else on what they need to do and how they need to do it, and then they'll do it. They'll get the credit card, they'll spend on the credit card, they'll pay it off, and it doesn't help them because they're not building their credit. They're just using their credit. There's two totally different things. But when you have generations and generations and years and decades of people telling you, you have to work so hard and save up so much money in order to be able to buy a house. It's never going to happen unless you do A, B, C, and D. Maybe 30 years ago, not anymore. As I am sitting here right now, if you are employed for 2 years, file taxes for 2 years, and have little to no debt, under $10,000 of debt, not including medical and student loans, then you are pretty much pre-qualified to purchase a home. If minimum income that you would need to be able to purchase a home in this market right now, I would say about $40,000 to $50,000. That's only going to get you about $125,000 to $150,000 property, and you're going to be paying $1,400 a month for it. I think that in and of itself is a huge deterrent why people haven't purchased a home yet, because this price at $139 shouldn't be any more than $1,000 a month. It shouldn't be any more than $1,000 to $1,100 a month. Well, let me say this. Back in 2018, that's how much it was. Now, it shouldn't always be, but the rates are the rates. You know, I can't do anything about the rates. I think they're going to come down, but in all honesty, if you were to purchase a home now and you maintain your home and you kept your home together and, you know, kept your insurance on it, you weren't behind your payments, and get something that's manageable for you. Don't go on your pre-approval amount.
What? Yeah. Well,
You know?
let's back up a little bit,
Yeah.
because that's a lot of information, and I want to kind of chunk
Break it down.
So, break down what are the components of a typical mortgage payment. So you have what you pay the bank.
Correct. You have your principal payments you make, your interest, your loan, your interest and your insurance, your taxes, all of that is typically written into, of course, your FHA, VA, rural development type loans.
Go ahead, keep going.
I'm trying to look and see what you're doing.
Oh, pulling up some stats.
So for an FHA loan, minimum credit score of 580. For our rural development loan, if you have a credit score of 620 or above, you can actually get a home loan with zero money down.
Okay.
You will have a little bit of cost incurred because you have to get your home inspection and your appraisal, but sometimes your lender, depends on how the loan's structured, will allow the appraisal to be wrapped up into a loan so you don't have to come out of pocket with it. But if you're employed for 2 years, file taxes for 2 years, and have little to no debt, there is no reason why you can't become a homeowner, why you cannot get a loan.
So would they have to pay like PMI, private mortgage insurance? Would they have to pay? There's
Yes,
so many.
yes.
That's what I'm saying. Get into what a mortgage breaks down to, because a lot of people say, get you a house, and then we're going to get into the theory about a new construction versus old construction. But when they say that, I want to grow up and I want to buy a house, what they don't understand is you have a mortgage payment, and then depending on how you get that loan, you could have PMI tacked on it, or you could have some kind of fees tacked
All
on it.
FHA loans have PMIs on it.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Private mortgage
insurance. You can't get rid of it.
No.
Until you're down to about 70. If you've paid down your loan 77%, you can get rid of it and it's over with. So let's say you purchase a home in March, and next year you and your husband, your spouse are like, man, our income taxes, we're going to get a nice little return this year. Let's call and put $5,000 down on the principal balance of our mortgage. And if they do that for 2 or 3 years, that might be enough to where they call it on the 5th year and be like, this is our last big payment we're going to make, remove that PMI. And it's going to reduce their mortgage payment couple $100, just depending on how much the loan is.
But then you get into taxes, because taxes can fluctuate your mortgage. Taxes can go up, taxes can go down, and a lot of times you have to keep that money in the big word escrow.
Right.
Everything
is
escrow
escrow.
account.
Well, that's why you're required to pay. The 3.5% is basically your prepaids is what it is. It's going towards your loan, and then you have your prepaids that are associated with it. And yes, that does come with your interest and your tax and the PMI. Everything is wrapped up into it. Your interest rate is, with the FHA loan, with a rural development loan, and with a VA loan, it's never going to increase. It's a fixed rate. So unless you get a balloon or an adjustable rate, or sometimes even a conventional, depending on how your loan is structured, it can fluctuate too. The best first-time homeowner program loan, hands down, I would say FHA. I know that's probably not what people want to hear, because everybody wants to have a rural development loan, But one thing about a rural development loan and an FHA loan that people have to know, and they typically are not told this until into the process with their lender, is that it is going to come at a higher monthly rate. It just is. Because you're coming to the table with zero money. They're literally financing you with 100%. Even with putting a little bit as 3.5% down, it really does help tremendously as far as keeping your monthly payment maybe a couple $100 lower than what it would have been if you would have got a zero down home loan.
So you mentioned your background with HUD. So there are those that HUD, will, I guess, not subsidized, but they will insure a mortgage or get you you get in a property. You have VA properties,
Correct.
And then those properties can be repossessed and then put back into the market. And then usually there's if you use a VA home loan, there's fees associated with that. So you may not pay private mortgage insurance. I love my VA loan. I use it all the time.
Well, when you're in the foreclosure portion of it, it's horrible.
Never been there.
It really is. It's horrible because there's just so many stipulations. You get to a point, and people don't realize this either, but you get to a point with every single mortgage where you can't get out of it if you're so deep into it and you've missed payments and you're trying to keep it, you're trying to maintain it because this is
your dream,
most biggest purchase. Yeah, it's unfortunate when you get into situations like that. That's why I try to educate people and let them know that I want to really worry about what you're concerned with your monthly payment. I'm not worried about what your pre-approval amount says because, I can pre-approve you can get pre-approved for $300,000. But what if something happens a year from now? Are you still going to be able to maintain that $300,000 house payment? And some people just don't think about that. They get so excited that they're finally pre-approved and they finally get a house. Or, for instance, when they're doing the bond for deeds and owner finances and stuff like that. I am not for those type of deals.
What's a bond for deed?
A bond for deed is when somebody has poor credit and they cannot purchase a home through a typical mortgage. So let's say, for instance, I have a home I'm selling for $100,000 and you come to me and you're like, my credit's a $400, but I have $10,000 and I could pay $400 a month. And I'm like, okay, so I take your $10,000 and I rent you the house. 2 years from now, you default on it. Guess what happens to you? You just lost all of your money. But guess what happens to me? I get to do it over again. I get to do it all over again. It's not favorable for the buyer, especially if you're in a position to where you're struggling financially and you have a large sum of money and it's overwhelming and it's exciting to know that this is like you could become a homeowner with this, but you're losing all of it. You might as well just think of it as going to the casino because you're going to take a gamble. I'm personally speaking about this because I personally went through an experience where I lost $15,000 on a bond for deed through a family friend. So this is why I developed the program that I developed to turn people into homeowners. And I utilize it with every single client, whether they have a poor credit score or a high credit score. It's still beneficial for them to work the program and know how to help themselves.
So do you believe in pre-mortgage counseling?
100%.
Okay.
100%. I actually am getting certified to be a HUD housing counselor. I'm on the last legs of taking the exam, so I guess I shouldn't have, manifested. But I've learned a lot through there, and it's just reiterated what I was already teaching myself. Some of the stuff that they're teaching, I don't quite agree with because it's, again, if your pre-approval letter says one amount, but you can't afford that monthly payment, then why are you working towards this high amount of a property if you don't want to pay $3,000 a month for it, So it's just difficult. I guess sometimes helping people come down to reality and let them understand, hey, look, you might want this $200,000 house, but we can get you this $150,000 house. Over 5 years, you might renovate the property. You might do some work to the property. Next thing you know, your $150,000 house is worth $250,000. And I've had a lot of clients that happen to, and every one of them call me to sell their house afterwards, and they're walking away with a lot of money.
So if you right now, and I'm gonna pop this up.
Yeah.
And again, no shade to anyone with these houses on the market. This is public information. But if you look around Bogalusa and you look at what's available, as properties, if we start looking at this map over here, you got anywhere from 89,000 to 380K, and then down here you got 22.5. So, the market around here, and we saw that 139 median.
Right.
You can go from a shack,
Yeah.
to a mansion, 595K. So how do we start to educate our young people, our younger people, or even some of our older people who are considering Bogalusa about the market here, since it's all over the place? And these could all be in the same neighborhood. That's what's really
absolutely
crazy around here is you can have on the corner from where I live. There's a nice, pretty mansion, and then there's me.
That's how I feel with this house. This house is down the street from me. But it gives me hope,
Yeah.
Some of them are, I'll tell you this. When an agent lists a property, we don't list a property based on us. We have to listen to our sellers.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to say, okay, look, we'll do this, but if it doesn't have showings, we need to reduce it and come down down to reality. A lot of the time it's hard because in this type of area in Washington Parish, it's rural.
Yes.
So you're going to have so many different vast amounts of property because of the land, because of this, that, and the other. But when you're in like the heart of Bogalusa, I think every property in Bogalusa within the avenues, back by Travis's, all of these properties have potential. Every one of them have potential. The craftsmanship in the majority of these houses down here, you can't rebuild this. You can't redo this. You can't. You cannot do it. And if you did it, it's going to be $215,000 for a house on Avenue J. You know what I mean? And the market's just not going to be favorable for that because of the condition of the properties.
So that's a big, because if you take this one, it's aesthetically pleasing from the.
I've showed this property.
Really?
I have a client who's extremely interested in this property. As soon as her house sells, we're probably going to put an offer in on this one. She's so excited about it.
Let me move this one before somebody sees it.
No, we can talk about it if you want, to be honest with you, because I think it's a great house. I told her the moment I walked into this house, I said, holy moly, if you were to take this house and put it in New Orleans, you'd probably be $300,000.
I don't know whose house this is, but I'm giving you some free advertisement. So you should find me a guest for the next one.
Yeah. No, it is beautiful. They did a fantastic job on it. Everything that they did in this house,
nice.
they kept the character to it, and they just made it better. I would market this property day in and day out, and if I was moving, I would move in this house, to be honest with you, because it is really nice. Look at the court. Wait, you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like, the houses they're not built with that stuff here. It's just not. This is a beautiful property, and I hope that my client gets it, so nobody else is allowed to get to it.
So you have aesthetically pleasing property. So someone did the construction on this house.
Somebody did it.
Did a good job, or at least it looks good. Yep. Now, you and I have talked about this. It is very hard if we push our younger people into purchasing older properties that do need work and renovation to find a reliable contractor. I can tell you that I lost dealing with people who, were unscrupulous or
I've had some crazy estimates.
Some wild estimates.
Wild estimates.
Things are unfinished still, and I'm just like, I'm angry about it. I'm glad I got to a certain point, because I did get one contractor that felt sorry for me and got me to a livable place. but I'm still not finished. I still need a roof on it, and that's a big thing around here. You know, is you need a roof, and the quotes and the estimates for a roof are
$30 grand.
astronomical.
I got $30,000 quote.
No.
I had to sit back and cry. I'm like, 30 grand for a roof. Only paid 40 for the house.
Well, yeah, and people don't understand that an insurance company won't insure your home.
Yeah,
you know, if you're coming into it with the damaged roof.
Pocket for everything.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. Maybe we could touch on it in another subject. Is all of these so-called grant monies that people are saying that, like, who is that? Who is the grant program in Louisiana after Rita? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip. I fought with them for 4 years to get this grant. I was finally approved for a grant for $28,000. Everything was being set up to come out to do my roof, and then they sent me a letter, and they're like, "Okay, well, you need to send in $8,000." And I'm like, "Wait,
if I had that, I wouldn't."
I'm like, "Wait a minute." I said, "I don't have $8,000."
Is it Katrina and Rita Disaster Recovery Grant? Maybe.
It's it's not.
Well, anyway.
Yeah. Rehome. Rehome.
Okay.
Not.
I know what you're talking about. It's escapes me, but I'll look it up. But keep going.
Yeah. I told her, I said, "This is absolutely crazy." I said, you're supposed to be coming to my house. I mean, I'm talking about 4 days. 4 days. I mean, everybody had come over to inspect it. HUD came out, everybody. She's like, "Well, sorry, they never told you?" I said, "For 4 years, we've been going back and forth with this." I said, "So are you telling," I said, "how many people in this area think that they were going to get grant money to fix their property? And then you guys told us 4 days before that we needed to come up with an $8,000 deposit to be able to do this." And I'm like, "This is crazy." I'm like, "So if I don't have $8,000 to give you, then I don't get the grant?" They're like, "Nope." I'm like, "Oh, this is unbelievable." So, I mean, it is what it is. But luckily, I have friends that do roofing, and slowly but surely, half of it's done, and the other half's going to get done when I can. But I mean, it is absolutely absurd that the games that they play with people and who truly need the help, who truly need the help.
So there are programs out there, and we kind of touched on this. So Bogalusa's big thing always coming up is Bogalusa Rebirth. And I am from Richardson Town, and I pass through there on my way to Bird Avenue, and I see the new homes being built. I have thoughts and feelings. Some of them are positive, some of them are not.
Sure.
Concerning how I don't like how they look in the neighborhood over there, bunched up over by Main Street. But at the same time, it's new construction.
So all the ones on Main Street that are being constructed, because I've seen a lot of them, and my husband and I pass by all the time, and I'm like, I wonder who these are, because there's no signs, there's no saying who's doing anything. I didn't know that it was Bogalusa.
Yeah, if you the stack of homes, it's not actually Main Street. It's over. It's off of Main Street. I forgot what the name of the street is. I can look.
It's the one with we went to the Mexican place, right?
No. This is over in Richardson Town, over by where the old. So you have Main Street grocery store that's now on Columbia Street. The original Main Street was actually on Main Street.
Okay.
And then the houses are over there. There's about 6 or 7 of them over there. And then they have one that's up in the front, and that gray one is actually up for sale. And I know, 2 years ago, I saw in the Daily News that this lady, they built it for a lady, and they're HUD financed. And I did try to email them a year ago to get some details and information from them on what they were doing and how they were doing, and never answered me back. But the gray one that faces Main Street, what I read in the newspaper from my memory was the lady bought it, and then she passed, and then they let her kids live in it and rent it for a year. And then it's been back on the market again, because I think that year was up. I don't know if they bought it. But the houses over there, I mean, they're new. Yeah. Now, I know a lot of the people that live in the older properties, the air properties, or have been over there for years and bought. And my personal opinion is, being from over there, is that from a community standpoint, you can build new construction to try to infuse money, but this isn't like in Atlanta. This isn't like a DC where I came from, where you can build new houses in the middle of houses that need rehab and need blight, and then make a community better. I know a lot of those people over there would have appreciated grant money or opportunities to rehab their houses.
homes, right.
I know United Way has come in here and tried to get people to look at their air property homes, look at ownership, and try to get the titles cleaned up and those type of things. But in that area, that is the new home market. They have two that are in Poplar's Quarters, right down by the hill, and one of them I think is occupied. The other one I think is on the market for like 140 something thousand. And when you look at the properties around it, I don't know anybody. It's a beautiful looking house. I just don't know anybody coming from anywhere that would look at the properties around it and see the beauty in Bogalusa in it and say, I want to do 30 years of my life at 140 something thousand dollars in this property. So my thing always is, how can we attract people here to properties that are newer, properties that are rehabbed? I mean, what is it that we can do to market the housing market in Bogalusa compared to what we were showing earlier about when I was in Facebook. I have to go back to it, but when we were showing the statistics of what it cost in Ponchatoula, Bogalusa is 130. Washington Parish, 139,000. Robert, 210. I mean, that house is less than the median here. The house they're building. I mean, they're building quote unquote affordable housing. How can we get people in them?
I don't think $1,400 a month is affordable for people in Washington Parish here. I just don't. It is the market now, though, and I think that's a huge reason why these houses are sitting for as long as they are, because people truly can't afford them. One thing I want to touch on is that when people purchase a home, the loans are for 30 years, but realistically, people outgrow their houses within the first 5 to 10 years, and they're selling them. You're getting married, you're having children, or you might have a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, and then you get married and realize, well, I can't be in this house, so we sell this one. So typically people don't stay in houses for that long. But the problem with, let's say like a subsidy loan, is that they purchase property that's in blighted areas, they remodel them, and they put people in them that are worthy homeowners. They teach them and educate them on how to become homeowners for a lengthy period of time, and not just, the 90 days, what I do. But the kicker is that there's stipulations on them. So if you want to grow your family, and let's say 5 years from now, you have triplets, and you're growing out of this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, you got to sell the property, you have to pay back the subsidy on that. So if your property, if you purchased it for $140,000, you better make sure that your property has enough so you can pay your agents, so you can pay
enough equity,
the fees,
the E-word.
the big E-word.
Explain it to people that people don't really understand equity. They look at, I bought a new house, I paid XYZ for it.
Right.
That a lot of times we're not educating people that house, just because you paid that for it,
it's not what it is.
It's not worth that.
I'll give you an example. You're absolutely right about it. I have a house right now listed in Terrytown. You can look it up, 2125 Usalid Street in Terrytown. The property appraised for $239,000 in 2021. I've been having it on the market since May of last year. It was so bad that I got no offers, no nothing on it. And it wasn't the house. It wasn't the price of the house. It's the taxes and the insurance. It automatically disqualified them. That's what's happening right now. These affordable houses that people think are affordable are not. None of them are affordable anyway. So you have to adjust in order to be able to compensate for what people can pay. And you also have to let people know, hey, if you need to get out of this, this is what the repercussions are if you can't. Because guess what? My client in that house right now, we had to reduce it down to $179,000. Still didn't get an offer on it. So I had to wind up doing an unconventional sale on it, and we wound up closing on a Tuesday. But I mean, unfortunately, my clients are still going to have this property in their name. It's an investor deal. It's not something that I ever would advise, but it was either that or they were going into foreclosure. So they had no options. That's the only problem with these subsidy loans with HUD is that people don't realize that yes, they're great. They get you into these properties, but you have to know that if your property doesn't have the equity in them in order when you're ready to sell them, then you're upside down. And you're going to be just like these houses are now that are sold, who's lost 30% over the last 6 months, and you can't sell them. They're sitting on the market, and they're losing, and they're foreclosed on. We have one of the highest foreclosure rates in the country, like 40%, almost 40. Like, it's ridiculously high.
In Louisiana?
Yep, it is ridiculous. Louisiana's like 40th percentile. Yeah, it is.
Oh, wow.
It's hard. It's really, really hard. So hopefully within the next couple months, things are going to get better, maybe next year. But for right now, it's just a really tough market. But I tell you what, when things do get better, you better be ready because houses are going to be selling like they were, I think, 4 and 5 years ago. I really do.
You think in Bogalusa, you think there's an opportunity now to strategically plan for that?
I think if people knew that there was the opportunity for them to purchase homes, that they would. Period.
Well, this is my take on it, and I said this in the last week in it. I am a firm believer that if you have the schools that people want, they will buy a lot. They will buy a shack. I've witnessed it. In Georgia, people want to be in Decatur city schools.
Yeah.
They will rent an apartment, live somewhere else, rent an apartment just to have an address where they can put their child in a school, because I guess their take on it is that's private school money that I'm not paying, and I'm getting the public school experience I want and I need for my child. I'm getting everything I want there. So, the schools, when you go into these people who are really looking to invest their money, even retirees, look at the ratings of schools. They look at the crime statistics. And I found people that will overlook crime over the schools. If they have, younger children. They look at taxes. I've at times said, maybe at this point, Bogalusa has a laid back feel, like it's like 20 years behind in the times. Maybe there's a market for a retirement community. But if we get into rentals or we get into renovations, you have Long Avenue School, which is over in Richardson Town, right up from, that's been sitting there. And the school system actually put Long Avenue on the market for $35,000 maybe a year or so ago. It didn't sell because it has, I think it's asbestos abatement. But originally, when there was this talk about Bogalusa Rebirth, the charter was it was going to be there. Now, I do know there's a non-profit or a not-for-profit that has been asking to get the schools around here, to get rid of some of these big blighted properties. And they wanted to turn it into affordable housing for seniors. I don't want to misquote, but veterans. But the goal was to get the school system to give them the properties for $1, and they would renovate them into affordable rental properties.
I think that's an incredible idea. I do. I don't know how they would actually go about doing that at that location, though. That asbestos abatement?
They're skilled in this. This is what they do. They go around the country and they've done it. But the thing about the school system, and this is from learning and from going to the meeting. So they put it on the market for $35,000. It did not sell. By law, the next time they put it on the market, it has to be at a reduced percentage of the original price. I think it's like 60%. So that would make it around 16, a little bit less than half.
Yeah, a little.
A little bit less than half. If it does not sell in the second round, then they can sell it start the bids, I guess, at $1. So right now they've been holding on to them. The school owns several properties. So that one for sure, I know it was for $35 because I put in a public records request and got the forms to bid on it. And then there was a lot of chatter because someone donated like a lot to the school system. And when you pulled it up on Google, it was like, why does the school own a house or something? It would misnomer it. But anyway, the person who owned the home next to the lot was trying to get the school system to sell them the lot because it's been there and it's been empty. So, you know, there's been some chatter, but this town, when you do pull in and you see all these abandoned school buildings, it's, you know, to me, it's a deterrent to the market. And then when you look at the neighborhoods that they're in, they're kind of clustered. Over there in Richardstown, you got Long Avenue, major depressed property. Yeah. You got Columbia Street, right off of Columbia Street, right behind Sonic. Right. You can see it from Columbia Street and Sullivan Drive, depressed property. Right. You got, actually over in Poplars, they let that grow up. And most people don't even know that that's over there and grown up. I don't even know if the school system still owns that, but that's over there. So then you got Superior Avenue, abandoned off of Superior Avenue. You got the Terrace. You got Pleasant Hill over there. You know, big old Pleasant Hill. You know, the idea is that we really don't have enough rentals. We don't really have enough rentals. And then you have these big properties that could turn into real. I know we don't have enough senior housing.
I get more rental calls than I've ever gotten up here in Bogalusa ever. Really? And there's none. There's a motel that was converted into apartments in Angie, and then there's some efficiency apartments over here. But they're like little studios, so families can't live there. They're I believe it's actually 55 and older community. Mm-hmm. So there's one in Franklin for like 2,500. Other than that, there was nothing on the market. I have friends call me all the time. I need a rental. I'm like, there's none here. There's none. Like, I beg investors. You got to come to Washington Bears. I have more clients. Pretty much the majority of my clients from 2018 till now are from New Orleans or the West Bank, and they've moved up here. Yeah. You know? So I tell you what, people always ask me, why'd you choose Bogalusa? But why wouldn't I?
I love it. Why wouldn't I? That should be the slogan. Why'd you choose Bogalusa? Why wouldn't I?
If I came in and bought a property, guess what I'm doing? I'm helping my neighbors. All my buyers who come in and buy a property, they're helping their neighbors. Everybody's property value is going to possibly increase once new people come in and they're maintaining their homes, and people, you know, that's just how it works. It is very disheartening to see that there's so little people who are actually willing to come to Bogalusa and make a difference, because, man, there's just so much opportunity up here to make a big difference.
Yeah, I am definitely of the mindset that Bogalusa is a diamond in the rough.
It is.
Yeah, we got crime. We get on these crime statistics.
There's crime everywhere.
There's crime everywhere.
I grew up in New Orleans. I watch the news every day, and it was crime every day. There's no different than anywhere else you go. There's so many beautiful people here, and there's so much potential here in Bogalusa. And I think it's just a matter of giving people a chance and letting them have a voice to say what they want, and then giving them the knowledge and the tools to be able to do it. And stop telling them they can't do it. That's a big thing. Stop telling people they can't do something.
Well, not just stop telling them they can't do it. I think stop giving them jaded advice. In the you and I were talking, and I was giving you my background. You know, I grew up in a house. I grew up in a neighborhood where everybody lived in a home. Yep. So by the time I got to be an adult, I knew that I was supposed to purchase a home. I just had never seen anyone do it. Now that I'm older, you know, that's called generational wealth. Yeah. You know, when I was growing up, it was just living. Yep. So then you get out here in the world, and I go, and everybody's like, oh, you got a good job. You know, you should get a house. I rarely was a renter. I've lived in an apartment one time in my life. No, 2 times, I think, in my life. And for less than 6 months. And that's a whole nother tale about how to do a lease.
It's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, a whole other podcast on how, you know, if you did a dud on a house, I did a dud on a lease. Had no idea you had to notify the people you were getting out. Oh, anyway, long story short. So I buy a house in Washington, D.C., I buy one at 30 years. And because that's what the lender told us to do. As I'm in that house and I'm talking to my neighbors and I'm learning, they're in a 15. And they're not paying much more than I'm paying at 30. And they're in 15. Their interest rate's it's the same pretty much at that time.
Yeah.
So I don't do a 30 anymore.
It's always your 15.
You will never catch me in a 30-year mortgage ever again. I don't even advise young people to do 30. I do what you do though. I say, you may not want to buy that house because you're going to be house poor. You know, that's a term my friend Christy Boo gave me, house poor. You never want to be house poor.
Right.
But I don't encourage people to do it 30. I always, if I talk to people, I'm saying a 15. I'm always telling them look at that mortgage payment, that baseline mortgage payment.
Right.
Break that up over 12 payments and pay toward principal and interest to pay it down. Yeah. I learned eventually about points, and I know we got about 15 minutes and we didn't get into it. We got to move to some things, but these are things that and we here at Washington Parish STEM and Innovative Learning Center, STEM is about the mathematics of it all. Right. And we want to be able to teach kids this financial literacy component of it all. Looking at your money. When kids say, what am I going to use math for? Well,
living every day.
Well, if you do choose to buy a house and they give you points and they tell you the interest rate and they tell you your mortgage payment and you must do a budget, at a minimum, you are going to use addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You can't get away from it. So if you think you can go to school and you're not going to need it, you're going to need it. In addition to that, you need to be able to read, because I learned that you need to be able to read your contracts. You need to be able to read the language in there, and you need to be able to read the numbers. So for any kids listening who are giving teachers resistance about what am I going to do it for, we can do a simulation. Yep. And we can show you
these
the
are
values.
This is not something that you want to just be like, oh, I'm good. You really want to look at everything, because there's so many mistakes that can be made, and mistakes always happen. I've had where we've closed on a property and I've been called back by the title company and said, oh, y'all didn't bring me enough money. Your buyer has to bring me more back money. I mean, well, what are we going to do? You made a mistake. It is. But if you were to read and you know exactly what you're looking at and ask questions, that's the biggest thing. There's never a stupid question. If you don't know something, you have to ask the question in order to be able to know it.
There's no stupid questions. There is a thing though of not having the resources to get the answers that you need. So if you go back to the story that I told you, I learned over time. I've learned over buying, several properties, different things that now I'm able to impart to somebody else. And I had a good experience when I sold that house in DC. I sold it to some people who were in NACA. And I advocate for NACA as a home buying program because I didn't have to pay seller closing costs. Oh, okay. NACA paid their, took care of theirs, and over years I've told people to buy from NACA, and then they've used it to buy down points. People smarter than me. So it's never, any question is not a stupid question.
Correct.
What we really need is a bank of people who have good, wise counsel.
Correct.
In the answers, because some people will answer you in the method that's to their benefit. If we go back to that bond for deed, and that may be good for some people, but for the majority of people, that's likely not the best deal to get involved in. And if your people don't know, and let's say you're the first in the family to get the income to be able to buy a home, and this is what someone is offering you, or they're offering you, a finance company, and I'm not against finance company, I'm sure they've kept this going, but they offer you these things, and you don't have anybody to bounce off of, and all they're seeing is either you're going to buy a house or you're going to get a new house. Right. You can get it, but you might not keep it. Right. And we want people to keep their homes, recycling homes, unless it's a robust real estate market. Yeah. Lots of foreclosures are not repossessions and foreclosures are never a good thing for the country. They're not a good thing for the tax base.
No, absolutely not. They sat on the market for years. They've had some houses that were foreclosed on for 7 to 10 years sometimes that we were still managing for HUD. We were just sitting there. And it made no sense because these are beautiful houses, but it's just all red tape BS. It makes absolutely no sense at all because every one of them were sellable. I have people driving by, hey, is this how I buy this house, cat? It's not for sale, it's not for sale, it's not for sale. Years later, we go by and now the windows are gone, the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes no sense. It really doesn't. I think there definitely needs to be a better way of selling homes from people who are losing their homes. You know, those are the homes that are gonna end up being a HUD home. And if you know the right person and you know how to get in there and buy one of these homes from these people, and you could get a conventional loan with them. That would be a way better route to go than to do a bond for deed or do an owner finance or something of that sort. You could assume the mortgage and take over their payments. I mean, there's so many more better ways and less risky ways of you losing everything. And still being able to, let's say in 5 years, refinance and put everything in your name and then not have to deal with anybody else.
Now, assuming the mortgage, that is something that's another thing that Bogalusa taught me. I had never heard of that, but I do know someone who was renting from someone, and they were a consistent renter. And the person who was renting the home was like, look, I really want to get out of this house, and I don't want to take any more from you than you've already given me.
Yeah.
I just want you to take over what I have left on the loan. And they did that, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And then they were able to refinance, for a better rate. The rate wasn't bad that they assumed for.
Well, then they can get their home equity loan out of that.
Yeah.
If they transfer, I mean, they're taking home equity loan out of it and just slowly but surely rebuild it and enhance it. Do your painting, do your fixtures, your flooring, and before you know it, your investment's doubled. I've seen it happen.
So we got about 9 minutes left, and I'm here talking to Julie. She's a broker here in Bogalusa, Southern Charm Realty. So we're putting out nuggets and gems for financial literacy, home ownership. So I want you real quick to go back to the homeowner in 90 days or less. How does that work? How can you do that for people? Because we kind of talked about it a little bit earlier. People may have come on that are interested in it. What is it?
Sure. So, in order to qualify for this is my specific program, you have to be employed for 2 years, file taxes for 2 years, and have under $10,000 worth of debt, not including student loans and
Medical.
And medical bills.
Yeah, run it down. Medical.
And medical bills, because those are calculated a little bit differently with your debt to income ratio. However, if you have a credit score in the low 500s, you are my ideal client. If you have zero credit at all, you are even better than somebody who has bad credit. If you could follow my program that I designed specifically for you, there's no doubt about it that you're going to see a credit increase of 30 points to 130 points within the first 45 days. My program is specifically just from what I've taught myself and what I've learned in order to help myself be able to buy a house. I lost, $15,000 in my bond for deed that I did. And it's very simple. I don't like to charge anybody for credit reports. I don't like to charge people to do anything before I sit down with you and have a consultation. So if you're interested, call me. You can inbox me. I'll be more than happy to have a consultation with you, go over everything. I do like to use Credit Karma. I know people are like, oh, Credit Karma sucks. No, it really doesn't suck. It tells me exactly what I need to know about you and your credit and how to get you to become a homeowner. I have over 10,000 dispute letters that you can utilize to dispute items that's on your credit report. So if me and you go through this and in 90 days you're a homeowner and 3 years from now, life happens, call me. I'll send you everything that I have, and you'll always, always, always know how to get out of a situation that has put you, in harm's way financially because of life.
Okay, so we have about 6 minutes left, so I'm gonna put in a plug. So if you are watching this podcast and you're not in Bogalusa, or you're from Bogalusa and you're like, I don't know if I want to come back there because you like the city life. If we go back to these statistics, if you purchase a property, or you're in some air property, you have air property out here, look at this beautiful number here. Monthly owner cost without a mortgage, $325. And actually, I can say that's not too far off. People complain about the water bills. I mean, if you don't have a water leak, water and sewerage is not over the top here to me. But I'm coming from the city, so this is for people coming from the city. It is not over the top. It's not a double digit. It is not that bad. If you look at electricity, it's not that bad. A lot of properties still don't come with central air, but
Really? You think electricity's bad?
No, I don't think it's
I'm
that
saving
high.
my electricity bill next month. It usually ranges from $600 to $1,200.
Oh my God, no way.
It is ridiculous. I've had my electric updated. I've had a new meter put in. I have no idea why my electric bill is so ridiculously high here.
I don't know. My
Go
home
solar,
is,
and I can't go solar because of my roof.
Okay, go solar. My home is completely electric. I had all the gas shut off. Now my big thing is that when there's a hurricane or something, I need to get a Generac and have them tap into the thing. But I don't. It's not ridiculous. But again, I'm coming from the city, so it's to me it's not ridiculous. But I would say $325 is low. I don't know the square footage of a home like that, but I would say I don't pay anywhere near here, and not too bad off that. Median gross rent $772. So if you're looking to kind of invest in Bogalusa, this is the parish, but a good property.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get good money. The thing about it is that a lot of landlords are renting to people, but are they really renting properties that they're keeping in the best condition, or are there properties that people need a place to stay and they're out here in Bogalusa and they make a certain level of income and they're willing to live in it? But I think if you come out here and you look, you can make money if you're willing to, especially if you have a decent property. People are always going to rent from someone who acts like they care.
Well, you have to fix it up right too. You can't. I've seen a lot of properties around here where they come in. I show them all the time. Mm-hmm. They'll come in and they'll put peel and stick tiles on the ground and flat paint on the walls and fixtures that they got from the salvage store. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And then they want to ask $80,000 for the house, and it's like, but it needs a new roof, and it needs windows, and it needs a door. Like, the things that they're doing just doesn't make sense. So if you are looking to improve your property, make sure that whatever you're doing and everything you're doing adds value to it. Don't just put peel and stick tile on the walls and the floors and think that's going to give you value, because it will not.
Well, I'm seeing the whole gray movement.
Oh, the gray movement's over with. We are over the grays.
I'm a victim of the gray movement, but my walls are. But the gray movement. Every house now, when you look at the inside of it, it's like gray and black, and I'm like,
it's funny. My middle room is half gray because I started painting, and I'm like, no, Julie, no, stop the gray. So half my wall is the yellow and half the wall is the gray. My husband's like, are you ever going to do this room? I'm like, probably not, because I can't figure out a color.
Okay. Well, listen, we are towards the end. So with that, I would definitely thank you for your time.
Oh,
and
I appreciate
thank you for the conversation.
I love y'all so much.
Oh, thank you. And this should be a solution to part of the problem. I hope we left people with a solution. We left them with the homeowners in 90 days. We left them with talking families and generational wealth. So I'm going to transition to, yes, we are at the Washington Parish STEM and Innovative Learning Center. As you can see, this is the second episode of the podcast, and so many of you have reached out to us and said you love the aesthetics of it. So guess what? We are offering you the opportunity to rent our space. So we're moving, but when we move, if you are looking to host your podcast for an affordable price, we have all the equipment, we can help you produce, but we're not the type of people to hang on to something and say it's just ours. We are here to teach you and to learn. It's not free, but but it's definitely affordable, and we have other people in the community who have production type who are willing to invest in people.
That's
But
great.
I'd love to see some of our kids get out here and talk about life in Bogalusa and what's going on. So
Absolutely.
with this, the next transition is financial literacy. I mentioned that, Julie's going to come out and she's going to work with us, and we're going to offer some financial
love it.
literacy class,
Absolutely.
not only to our children, but to some of our young adults, to some of our older people who may have aspirations of home ownership.
Everybody can benefit.
Everybody can benefit. And then finally, I hope you took away that this is solution driven as a podcast. It is certainly let's talk about Bogalusa, but it's not always let's dog Bogalusa. Bogalusa is a gem, and I think Julie said it best when people said, why are you out in Bogalusa? Why not? So thank you guys, and I will see you again on next Wednesday night. I don't have a guest lined up, so if you're interested in getting from behind a keyboard, getting off social media, and coming in and talking to me, please inbox me.
I'll come back.
Everybody wants to come back once they come on here, but if you really want to talk about solutions in Bogalusa, please, truly reach out to me, because I'd love to talk to some of you in person instead of slaying you on the keyboard.
We
I'd
love
love to talk to you in person.
questions.
So, thank you guys, and
y'all.
we've talked about Bogalusa. Thank you, Julie.
Praise Jesus. Thank
All
you.
right, amen.
That was great.